Hello guys, so in today's video we're going to look at a new version of the Kodiak I've been testing for a while now. As you can see, this one has been heavily used. You can see some marks here and here. I've touched up the edge a bit. It still works great. And what's special about this one is the steel that we used. So we're always testing new steels to try to find the best performance for the best cost. In this case, we used SKS51. So what exactly is SKS51? SKS51 is a Japanese steel. It's the equivalent to L6 steel that is often used to make bandsaw and circular saw blades. One of the unusual features with this steel is high nickel content that's used to increase toughness. It can also help with corrosion resistance. One specific feature is that it's thought to promote high toughness, especially in low temperatures. So if we look at the composition of SKS51, we see that it's composed of 0.8% carbon. The chromium is 0.2 to 0.5. The nickel, which is the specific alloy here, is 1.3 to 2. The manganese 0.5 and silicone 0.35. So this is steel very similar to SK85, has a bit more chromium and has some nickel added. So I started testing the knife with some usual outdoors tasks. So the Kodiak is ideally suited to do some chopping, trail clearing. So that's what I started. As you can see here, it chopped extremely well. Because of the stock thickness and the overall geometry, the Kodiak is definitely a good splitter. So we could easily split these small or even mid-sized pieces of wood. For bigger pieces, we used batoning, and the knife made short work of these bigger pieces of wood. So to test the overall toughness, specifically the lateral toughness of the blade, we banked it into a tree and were able to step on it with our full weight without the blade breaking or bending in any way. So next we went on to do some more tip-specific testing. So we jammed it to this log there and tried to pry it loose. So as you can see, it had no problem. So I decided to baton deeper and exert more force, and even that way it had no problem. So to take the testing up a notch, we decided to try to stab it through the steel oven door. As you can see, it's pretty intense testing, but the blade was able to puncture the steel with absolutely no damage to the tip. So to test the edge toughness and stability, I decided to try to chop through that piece of sheet steel, and it had no problem doing that with very minor edge damage. So since the knife could handle that, I decided to try to chop through the thicker sidewall of this oven. And so I went full force on the piece of steel, and it went through pretty deep with a minor damage to the edge. So it happens that while you're working the wood, sometimes you overstrike and you might hit a rock. So to simulate that, I try to hit this brick. As you can see, the Kodiak really had no problem. Chopped through the brick easily, and the edge really didn't have any damage at all. So I then went on to chop through this piece of rebar. So obviously we're able to make some nicks on the rebar, and we did experience some minor rolling on the edge. So as a final test for edge stability, I decided to chop through this hardened nail. These nails are hardened to 40 to 45 HRC. So I used this pretty heavy hammer and hit the spine with no damage to the spine. And after a couple of hits, we split through the nail with really minor damage to the edge, some rolling. So to take up a notch, I decided to hit it with this sledgehammer. So the first time I sort of missed it and tried again. But the second time I hit it pretty square, and the blade was absolutely not damaged and not bent. It was still straight. So as a final test, I decided to try to hit the blade while the tip was in the stump. So I hammered it pretty deep in the stump using the sledgehammer. So I hit the handle region of the knife with the sledgehammer a couple of times, increasing the strength every time. And despite that, the blade was not damaged in any way. The tip was still there, and this blade was perfectly straight. So overall, what can we say about SKS51? So I was pretty impressed about the performance of this steel. Obviously, it has a very high toughness. The edge retention is pretty good. The price is pretty decent as well. So this would definitely be an option for the future. So if you have any questions concerning SKS51 or the testing, leave a question in the comment section below. And let me know if you think we should make a run of Kodiak using that steel. Thanks for watching.